right. All right, welcome to Atlanta Startup Convos. Our first speaker is Martha. Take it away.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Atlanta Ventures, to share Prism with you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and get it Prism mode. And introducing Prism. So what is Prism? Prism is a digital vault built for end of life by centralizing your important information needed to handle the sometimes daunting task when life happens, typically at end of life or at a triggering event where what we call that is incapacitation. And so in 2017, my parents, who were about 70 years old at the time, or in their 70s at the time, experienced Hurricane Irma. I live in Birmingham, Alabama. They live in Miami, Florida. And my 77-year-old dad thought it was a good idea to get on the neighbor's roof to help chainsaw a tree that fell on top of it. Well, he fell off and was unconscious. And there's one person in every family that gets the call every time that something happens, and that person is me. My mom was distraught because he was unconscious. She didn't know what to do. I was called, they rushed him to the emergency room, and I'm like, I know that he doesn't take blood. I know that he has issues with anesthesia, but how do I get to this information so quickly when I'm hundreds of miles away? And worse, if something happens to him, do I know where he banked? I don't know where his life insurance policy is. I don't know where the will is. I don't know where anything is. And so with information everywhere, and with me being in Birmingham and then being in Miami, how do people get access to information so that they can handle these events seamlessly? That's why I built Prism. And Prism is not only there to help me access the information that I need, it's also there to make sure I have the consent that I need in order to access the information of my parents or of my dad in this situation. Because if anyone ever had to deal with calling a credit card company on behalf of their person that they are taking care of or a healthcare provider, you will not get any information unless you have consent. And ultimately, at end of life or at a critical event where someone is incapacitated, where they cannot provide that information to you, it's critically important to have that consent to be able to manage their affairs on their behalf. So using my background in tech and also what I've seen in banking, being able to transfer wealth, because that is another component of this, is I built Prism to centralize all of that information so you are able to store your documents. We also seamlessly integrate into the banks. So all of your information, we can aggregate your bank account information, we can bring in your life insurance policies, we can bring in your annuities. And there's also a place where you can catalog all of your precious items. So if you have a Jimi Hendrix guitar or a special, a special pearl necklace that you want to pass along, we also allow you to store that in Prism. So the team. I am Martha Underwood. I've been in technology over 25 years, started my career at IBM, worked in Silicon Valley in several startups, and then at a global bank. My CTO, Chris Winslet, is a twice Y Combinator alumni who has a passion for building products. And my COO is my sister who understands this challenge. And she's also a marketing and strategy savant, being in the commercial banking industry for over 25 years. So she has a good understanding of the industry and the problem that we're solving to help us market this. So now I'm going to jump into the demo here. So with Prism, you can set up an account or you can just go ahead and authenticate through Google. I'm going to go ahead and authenticate through Google this morning. And when you get to, when you log in, here you see the account. If I click on this account here, now I'm on my dashboard and I can see the owner's information. This is the subscriber. This is the person who is giving consent. You see here that the trusted person had been invited to this account to see all of this information, and that person is Shella. She hasn't accepted the invite yet. It shows that it is pending. But if I click here, I can resend that invite, I can view the invite, I can delete it, or I can edit it if I needed to. I scroll down here, we have the address, and then here is our secret sauce. So if something happens, this is where Shella can come in and say, I'm going to request an account transition. And here's where you would validate or upload a death certificate or any legal documents to show that something has happened to this subscriber, and I need access to the information that they've consented that I can have access to. To scroll down here some more, here's where you can add beneficiaries. I can invite my attorney to this. I can invite my financial advisor to this, and I can invite an executor to this. There are different roles that they have different access levels to the information that you provide to them. The other thing to note here is I am showing you the direct consumer version of this. We also have an enterprise level version that financial advisor firms use, insurance houses use, and also banks use. I go over to my financial accounts. This is where I can add and see all of the assets. This was important for me to be able to see all of my parents' assets because, again, talking to estate planning attorneys who deal with this all the time, typically one of their pain points is they have to subpoena within a 20-mile radius of your home to see where did you bank. All the banks, they are subpoenaing and say, okay, where did this person bank if no one has that information? So this alleviates that problem for them. And this is why some of our estate planners love this. You click add accounts, I can go ahead and I can add different banking accounts here. It's going to load here. I can just search my institution and add that. Next, I'm going to go over to our property and assets. This is where you can catalog what assets you have. Here, I have a Valentino pearl necklace that my grandma had that I want to pass along. If I wanted to modify or change that or update it, I can do that. So you can edit within here, and then I can go back and I can add that as well. Here's same thing with documents. Here's a marriage certificate. You can add your wills. You can add your life insurance policies. You can add birth certificates, just vaccine cards. We've seen a lot of different documents being used, and we've seen a lot of different use cases for it. So if I go back to my dashboard, or if I go back here to my manage account, I can switch the account as well. So if I've added another user to this account, I can go ahead and switch the account so that I can see it. I don't have one listed in here, but I can also add owners if I needed to. So if I wanted to add a joint owner or someone else to have access to this information, I can. And so I know that we're right at 7:30. I think I'm right at my 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I am Martha Underwood, and that is Prism.
Martha, thank you so much for sharing. And again, if anyone has questions for her, feel free to put them in the chat. If we don't get to every question, Martha, you'll be here the whole time, so you can kind of respond to that. One question for you is, you said you've got two, you're targeting, so enterprise and the B2C. Who's your target user for B2C? And then who's your target customer for enterprise?
Sure, for D2C, I am targeting Gen Xers and women. Because I'm a Gen Xer and I'm a part of that sandwich generation. We're taking care of our parents and also having to take care of our own families. So being able to organize this and alleviate the headache on this administrative side. On the enterprise level version side, we are targeting our insurance companies, financial advisors, estate planners, and also banks are using the platform.
I love it. And again, I'll leave you with one question, and maybe you can tell us, how do we get it? What does it cost? You know, is there a subscription, etc.?
So the subscription is $99 a year or $9 a month. And you can go to Prism, GETPRISM.com. And one other thing I'll say right now is, why now? Why do you want to do this now? It's because later does not belong to us, right? And why Prism? Because we have figured out how to give consent and allow you to time that access. If you put it on Dropbox or you put it on Google, everyone has access to it now. Some people want to keep their privacy, so we were able to figure that out and allow the subscriber to do that.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Martha. There's probably a couple other questions, and maybe you can just address them in the chat.
Sure,
but we're so glad that you joined us, and I look forward to, I'm going to dive into it more after this. So thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
I'll invite Andrew next. There he is. And then I'll have Martha. There we go. All right, Andrew, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Martha. That was awesome. It's a beautiful product. I am Andrew Levy, founder of Adpipe. My co-founder, Sam Birdsong, is on as well. This is our second company together. We've been partners for 10 years. For the first 10 years, we built a video production company for the Fortune 500 and for mid-market. And we had some insights about video, some that you might have as well. I'm going to share my screen. So the first insight is that video is really effective. Motion is super effective, 12 times more effective than text or still imagery. And that's probably assumed. You guys know that, if you have a video of a Jeep Wrangler driving over rocks, or if you have a still image of a Jeep Wrangler, which one is going to get more engagement from a potential customer? And it's obvious that the video will be that. And the other insight is that there's just a ton of video being created every day. 727,000 hours of video is being uploaded every day. Just think about that for a second. But the real insight is that that video is truly being underutilized. Most, if not all, of that videos has an average shelf life of just 10 days, which creates an enormous sunk cost and underutilization for companies. And we started to think about that. We started examining these companies a little closer. So let's look at like Caterpillar, which is obviously a major brand throughout the world. They have over 8,000 videos in their network that they've created over just the last 3 years. At an average cost around 10,000 a video, that's about an $85 million investment. If you think about Caterpillar tractors, you probably pass one on your way to work today or tomorrow. And, can you imagine just running $85 million worth of equipment one time? You would never do that. But these videos are typically only used a single time. And so we said, that's a massive sunk cost just to use one time. Why is that happening? And we realized that there's a pretty outdated employee mix at most companies, where most companies have been hired, people in the marketing department to work on static content, right? Over the last 60, 70 years, there's newspaper, magazines, billboards, static digital ads, and most of the department is meant to work on those. Whereas in the last 5 years, video has taken off, but the employee mix has not been updated efficiently. So, basically these marketing departments, even though they know motion is more effective, aren't able to get to it because there's just too many messages across too many channels. So what does that end up looking like? What it looks like, I imagine there's some UGA or some Georgia Tech alumni in the audience, and it looks like an undifferentiated piece of content. You probably can't even find your school on this map. If you went to one of those, it's because they all look the same. But the real kicker is all of these universities have over 3,000 beautiful videos that they can access, and yet their ads are still static and not differentiated and underperforming. And so that's why we built Adpipe, to help bring people from static to motion and truly differentiate themselves among their competition. So let's look at the product. Where did it just go? So how do we do it? This is Adpipe, and we focus on 3 core ideas: repurposing your video, repackaging your video, and reposting your video. So repurposing looks like what you're seeing right now. It looks like taking the video that you own and shape-shifting it into the different shapes and sizes of your different platforms and using it again. You can add a caption, you can add whatever the tools of the platform, and this is a very effective way to get your message out. But where it really gets interesting is when you take a clip like this that's in your library that you haven't used in a while, and you start repackaging it. And that looks like putting brand new ideas and current campaigns and current objectives over that repurposed piece of content. And that's where we're really starting to see value, is you can take something that's in your library. You don't need to go make a new video. You don't have to send a production team across the country or across your state. You can just take those clips and add a current campaign and then bring it to market instantly across all your channels. So let's look at how that works. So I'm kind of showing you the end of the process, but how did we get there? So this is the asset library where you hold your finished ads, but here's what we call the clips library. And these are untouched clips that you can quickly create with. So let's do that. Let's say we want to create, we click one button and we're in the easy generator. We wanted to make it simple for any non-video maker to create a great, beautiful piece of content. So you can see you have your typical dimensions here that you might go to market with. Let's say we want to make a square. So we can quickly move this around. Okay, you know what? That's going to be a cool spot. Then we go into our graphics library, which has been populated, pre-approved by management to have all of your upcoming campaigns in it. And the user can just do one click and they've got an industry leading ad, right? This is in the industrial sector. This is Caterpillar. Almost all of industrial ads are static today. In about 10 seconds, this dealership has created a motion first ad that'll perform about 12x better than their competition. And we're seeing that in case studies over and over again. And it's pretty cool. And so you can go ahead and press the generate button. And in 10 seconds, you've created a brand new ad. It'll start processing, and then you have your ad. And so, one of the big benefits there is you've now brought a new campaign to motion. You can make it across all these different sizes. You can get it out and start performing. But one of the things that we kept on hearing from our partners was we can't get to the motion if we don't know what our strategy is going to be or what copy to talk about. So, I'm sure you guys have been excited by the buzz of AI and ChatGPT, OpenAI. And so we've actually integrated GPT-3 DaVinci into our product. And we wanted to do it a little bit differently. A lot of products are, if you've played with it, you know that you have to kind of get sophisticated with what the prompt is going to be. We wanted to remove that friction. So you can click any platform that you want. We'll start with LinkedIn post. And you can see it's responsive based on what you select. So whatever the channel is, the copy will change, but we'll start with the LinkedIn post. And so what you can say is, all right, let's say we want to promote Caterpillar. We're going to promote the Bulldozer 3000. It's fast, reliable, available today, 0% financing. These are all keywords that even entry-level marketer will know. They don't have to come up with what it's going to be. Let's say we want to promote it in Atlanta. And boom, you can press generate copy. And in just about 15 to 20 seconds here, we'll have gotten you what we call about 80% of the way there, right? This is a prompted piece of copy that will help you really understand what you should write. So introducing Caterpillar's Bulldozers 3000, fast, reliable, available today with 0% financing here in Atlanta. Our bulldozers are built tough and crafted with top-of-line parts to make heavy-duty construction parts a breeze. Make your project smooth and efficient with Bulldozers 3000. Stop by Caterpillar of Atlanta to grab yours. So this is super effective, but if you know anything about, most industries around the country, there isn't just one language that they need to create in. So easily here, a marketer who doesn't know a different language can now generate that post in whatever language their market requires. And that's been a game changer, especially for global partners of ours who need to really communicate across different regions and different countries in multiple languages. So you see here, you've got a new post that represents the same idea in nearly perfect Spanish. And I talked about starting at the end, and this is really the beginning. So most of our users log in, they say, hey, this is what I need to accomplish today. They create the copy, they go in and they create the asset that goes along with it. And then they take those two to market. And we're, like I said, we're seeing about a 12x increase in conversion when they have motion across all of their channels. So I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Wow, this is awesome. I love seeing the addition of the copy. This is great, Andrew. Thank you for sharing. As I said, yes, if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the channel. Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about what you've seen from just like a quick insight into the shareability of these, what you're seeing as far as like your functionality and getting it like go to market you keep mentioning?
Yep. So we have a couple direct share tools to LinkedIn, email, MailChimp. I didn't get to that to the demo just because I wanted to be efficient. But I would say a lot of our users have their workflows set up on how they like to share. So we have an easy download button. That's definitely like the most used item. The most important thing is to be able to download in multiple shapes and sizes. You can see here we have multiple MP4 and GIF sizes because depending on the channel that you're on, email, social media, display ads, they're all different sizes and shapes. So we want to make it as easy as possible to bring it into your workflow.
Very cool. And then one more question, and of course, if others have it, drop it in, but talk to us a little bit about the pricing model and maybe who that's for as well. You've mentioned Caterpillar. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So right now in our go-to-market, we're focusing on a lot of digital transforming companies, industrial marketers. Our pricing is in between $3,000 and $6,000 a month. And that helps really bring an entire organization to motion. So across any channel, unlimited use of the copywriter, unlimited use of the generator, and they can bring their own graphics in to go to market easily in just a single click. That's probably the biggest benefit. We work on companies we call octopus organizations where they have a big brain and a bunch of tentacles. So a brand like Caterpillar or a car dealer or a hotel brand or a franchise group who has this protected brand. But they have a lot of people using it. So when you see those graphics, those are pre-approved so that any marketer can quickly create a piece of content that they know won't be interfered with by whatever the higher ups are thinking.
Love it. Gosh, this is exciting. Thank you so much for sharing. There's a couple of questions as well, but we're going to keep rolling. So if you'll be here for the rest of the time, maybe you can tackle those in the chat. Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciated it. Seeing the product. Andrew is already here. So let's see here. I'll just take it away, Drew.
All righty. Morning, y'all. I am Drew Scholtens. If you looked at my LinkedIn profile, it would say Andrew, but for the purpose of we all get to know each other, I go by Drew. And I'm going to introduce you to our company, Oinkching. Now, I'm going to do something a little different today. Typically, I would bring up my Canva presentation and I'd walk you through the business model and la-da-da-da-da. But today, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to show you a product demo. I'm going to ask you to use really two filters to look at the product. One filter is the consumer filter. So yourself, we're going to cover financial literacy. And the question is, why is financial literacy such a problem? And I'll talk about that in a second. We're going to go through the whole tool like that. And then we're going to stop and start over and wipe the slate clean. And then we're going to go through the tool as a banker. And I'm going to walk you through my business model a little bit. And so you don't have to use two brains at once, just use one at a time. Some of you with multiple personalities were like, we got this. No, we're going to go through as a consumer and then we'll go through as a banker. But let's dive right in. Oinkching, oink like a pig, ching like money going, the sound of money going in a piggy bank. Oinkching, there's where the name comes from. Oinkching is a financial literacy platform for adults. So I spent 12 years I left Georgia Tech, went straight to work for a company called Equifax, which is a credit bureau. And I watched as that market took off. I watched as fintech took off. And I watched as consumers struggled with financial decisions. And I thought to myself, why? Why is this happening? And in fact, why is financial literacy not successful? There's so much of it. Why isn't it successful? And so Oinkching, the impetus of which is financial literacy for adults, doesn't start with the question of financial literacy is bad, we can fix it. It starts with the question is why? Why has financial literacy not been absorbed by the population? We all know we need it. What's keeping us from diving in? And so we developed a white paper where we combined a bunch of university research, education research, market research together, and we developed this 26 reasons why financial literacy fails to be absorbed or even sought out by people making financial decisions every day. And that became the DNA of Oinkching. Oinkching is built on that white paper. Everything we do, from the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we shoot, the way we build our interfaces, is designed around these 26. Now, the 26 are a bit of our secret sauce, but you'll develop and see some in action as we go through the tool. So here's the interface, Oinkching there. I've logged in already on this account. And the first big piece of the 26 is this. We do not learn except for two reasons. Either we are entertaining ourselves or we're about to need the information. We need it because we're about to go solve a problem. So listen, none of us ever dreamed probably of being plumbers, but I guarantee you, if we thought about fixing our toilet or our sink, we went to YouTube and we looked it up first. Even before we called the plumber, we thought, could we do this ourselves? And went to YouTube because we could use that information right away. And so Oinkching builds on that premise. The idea behind Oinkching is I build content that is absorbable at the moment you need them. And then we do not pursue customers who are not in the moment that they don't need a financial literacy, because it won't work. It won't be absorbed. You cannot necessarily give it away. So we build content that's focused on the moment. Let's start with the first moment. When you're 14, you really have no reason to explore money, to understand money. If someone tried to teach it to you, it would go right over your head. You don't care. You don't need it. Around 16, 17, 18, we start to think about it. We can get our first jobs. We need money to go to the movies. We would like that car. We're thinking about what college we want to go to, possibly a career choice. And so right about that time, we're starting to explore the idea of money. And that's where Oinkching begins. We are not a tool for children. We're a tool for adults, and we consider 16-year-olds adults. You can disagree with me in the comments. And so we start with what we call the Young Adult Simulator. The Young Adult Simulator is all 100% video. We agree with Andrew at Adpipe, video is king. And the movement and the conversation and the personality that you can convey in video trumps all other things. So all of our content is delivered first by video, and then we support it with other things. In the simulator, we support it with real life simulation. This is an account that's already been jumped to week 39, but the simulator is a 39 lesson, 100% video simulation of real life financial decisions that you will make and real life tools. So it starts off with a video. Here's a balance sheet of your assets. This is the last week, so there's not much to do, but if this were week 37 or week 17, it would have a list of things you're going to accomplish this week. You're going to watch the video. When the video is complete, it would actually then move, check off the box, and unlock these top things. You don't need to hear me. Boom, and then these will become unlocked. And the checking account literally is a checking account, which you get paid each week, and you have bills that you pay. You have a bill pay that you'll practice paying bills in your bill pay. You've got a brokerage account with all the assets you've invested in like a 401k, Roth IRA. You've got a credit file that operates throughout the entire 39 weeks, and you've got discretionary spending. This simulator is designed for that 16 to 24-year-old who's beginning to explore money for the first time. And what we want to do is paint a full picture of what your financial decisions are going to be like. We simulate a recession in weeks 18 through 21. We get a tax return. We go buy a car with it. We pay off PMI on your mortgage. We do all sorts of things throughout the 39 weeks. In addition to that, you can link the simulator with a parental account. And so this tool, one of the 26 is that we cannot see the flaws in ourselves, but we can see them in other people. And so there's people in our lives that we love, and we see a problem, we see a blind spot, they don't know anything about insurance, let's say. What can we do about it? So this tool allows you to connect to other users and buy content on behalf of them, or join them in their journey. And in the managed relationships, somebody can actually link up to a participant in the simulator, and they actually get a summary. When they go here, they not only get their own simulator, but they'll actually have a summary page, which tells them how that person is progressing, gives them the next lesson, and gives them the cliff notes of that lesson. So that while little Jimmy is at the dinner table and looks at mom and dad and says, hey, have you guys ever had a HELOC before? And they didn't expect their 17-year-old to ask them about HELOCs. They don't go, what's a HELOC, right? So the idea here is you're building a community which is supporting the tool. That's the simulator, which is just our starting point. The idea there is that's where everybody starts, somewhere between 16, 24, wanting to become independent, not knowing how to do it, having a community of people who want to support you, but don't necessarily have the tools. We give the tool and we let you go down your path. There are several schools looking at implementing this in Georgia. Georgia just passed a law requiring juniors and seniors in high school to get a financial literacy. They've combined it to the econ class, but South Carolina passed a law. Florida just passed a law. It's become vogue in red states to pass these financial literacy courses. And this can be implemented in a school just as easy, with the teacher being the mentor. But we don't start there, because that's just where people start. So the next page of the puzzle is, great, I give you an overview of your life, but what if you're already 36? You don't need to go through the simulator. We've got a course called Survey to Personal Finances. It's free. So there's your freemium model, and it does the same content, it does it much quicker, it goes less in depth. You don't have a simulator, but it covers all the bases to get you started, kind of allows you to build your framework. And then our courses. Our courses fall into basically three main categories. One are macro events. So we do short courses on things happening to all of us at once. There's one there called Life with Inflation. Okay, we talk about a little bit about where it comes from, and then what do you do about it? How do you survive in a world with inflation? It's a freemium course. It's about 45 minutes long. It's free. You get it, grab it, go through it, boom, boom, boom. There's also then life events. And so Thrift is a 390-minute course on everyday household expenses, how they're priced, how the pricing managers behind the products price the product, and how to maximize your value, which is a combination of maximizing your benefit to you and minimizing the cost to you. We spend 23 minutes on water conservation because that's how you minimize your water bill. You can't shop it around, got to minimize your use. All these courses are hyper in depth. There are no tests, no quizzes, because life is the test, life is the quiz. And lastly, when you buy a course at Oinkching or get a course at Oinkching, you own it for life, but I keep updating it, which means that course never goes out of fashion. It goes into you, once you acquire it, goes into your transcript, and this is where you can consume it as much as you want for the rest of your life. Permanent solution, one and done. Back to the 26. There's a moment in time when your ROI is the highest for this content. In that moment of time is when we want to engage with you. So you're at the highest value to our bank partners, but it's also when the content's at the highest value to you. And that's when we want to find you and get that course in your hands. Cool. There's a couple more things that we can play around with on the consumer side, but I'm going to do what I promised you and start over. That seems a little bit lost, but we're going to start over. And now I want you to take your consumer hat off. And I want you not to think like a consumer, and I want you to think like a banker. I apologize in advance for making you do this. Here's what we're missing on a platform. I do not offer any financial products, and I don't wish to sell your data. I want to build on what Martha said in the first one. She said, data isn't the most precious thing, consent is. That's not necessarily a business statement, that's an ethical statement. And we love that statement. When Martha said that, I got little chills. I worked at Equifax for 12 years. I saw how powerful data can be. I can also tell you how damaging data can be. And so here on Oinkching, we want the consumer to be protected, and we want them to get the value of whatever data they choose to share. And so when you come as a consumer on Oinkching, you don't have a bank sponsor. You can choose to get one. If you do, it opens up the SIM, it slashes the prices, and any course in our core curriculum, you can just call your banker and say, hey, will you unlock the course for me? Back to the 26. You do not value that to which you do not pay for. But payment doesn't always have to be dollars and cents. Sometimes it can be an action. And what I want to do is say, listen, the economics sit on the bank side, the value sits on the consumer side. How do I tie those things together so that everybody wins? So we build kind of a triangle. I have no vested interest in financial products. I don't sell financial products. I don't even really sell data. I sell a relationship. I sell you information about what you can do. And then here's a bank partner that you can trust and you can engage with, but it's your choice as the consumer. So everything is above the board because data really is about consent on Oinkching. We do not sell data on Oinkching. You as the consumer choose to share it with your bank partner. But what does the bank get out of it? Well, the bank gets a ton of stuff out of it. First off, if you're consuming content, you're telling the bank what you're interested in. So I did a bunch of consulting on AI at a large credit union. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to deploy AI to find consumers who are interested in a product and then find the right offer to offer those. So they're trying to guess what the consumers don't like to tell you what they're interested in. They like to shop without being harassed. But what's better than that is when the consumer feels like they have a trusted relationship with you and they'll share with you what it is that they're actually interested in. And so if they're going through a job change, there's a career course on here. If they're about to buy a car, there's a car ownership course. If they're interested in renovating their house, there's a home ownership course. So on this platform, the consumer tells you, you don't need AI to predict because the consumer is literally telling you what they're interested in. You're building customer intimacy. In addition, the bank basically gets an area that they can present themselves, talk a bit about them. First American Bank and Trust is out of Athens, Georgia. They were our first customer to sign with us. So this account is linked to First American. Everything I do on this account is shared with First American, but only First American. And I, as a consumer, can change my sponsor or remove my sponsor, get a new sponsor, go non-sponsored. I have control over that. However, First American, as long as I'm being sponsored by them, my courses are slashed. And ultimately, if I want a course and don't want to pay for it, all I got to do is call my bank and say, hey, I'm interested in the thrift course. Who do I have to talk to? And they'll forward you to a personal banker. They get a phone call. They get a lead. They get to have a conversation with you and build a relationship. So I'm going to pivot a little bit here. And we're going to talk about AI. So you're a small community bank, 4 branches in Vidalia, Georgia. That's a real place. It's not just an onion. It's an actual town in Georgia. So you're living in Vidalia, Georgia, and you've got 3 bank branches, and you're up against Truist and Rocket Mortgage. So you're up against fintechs from New York City and Silicon Valley and the biggest, baddest banks in the country. How do you win? How do you survive an AI onslaught? Well, the answer for community banks has always been the same. It's been relationship. My teller goes to school with people who live in this town. My bank president is on the local Lions Club. My VP of mortgages is a part of the local American Legion. The way community banks survive is relationship. That's what they do. That's what they believe in. That's what they try to do. And this tool gives them the power to go to their local schools, their local community, and say, listen, partner with us, join Oinkching. It's a great place to go get educated, and we can build a stronger relationship. The leads generated on Oinkching are actually ahead of many of the leads you can buy elsewhere, because it's the consumer going to educate themselves. And as that consumer engages with the bank, there's comfort there because the consumer is engaging, having known what the problems are that they're trying to solve, and getting this in-depth knowledge. So it's a fair fight, if you will, between the consumer and the bank. The bank gets a fundamentally great relationship. Our business model is B2B SaaS to start off with. So the banks pay a subscription to be on the platform. They have a limitless license. It's only limited by their geography. And therefore the consumers really, the cost of the platform is taken off the consumers if they're just willing to have a relationship with the bank. But if they don't want to share data, they also don't have to. They don't have to have a bank sponsor, buy a course, they own it for life, and they never have to share data with anybody if they don't want to. So here's where I'm going to lead. You know, I'm not an AI company in the sense that I use AI in our research a little bit, but that's about it. I don't claim to be AI, but seeing that trend come across the board as entrepreneurs, I know many of you are entrepreneurs thinking about your next great idea. Emerging markets always come with those who expect to benefit, but it also comes with a bunch of people who fear that change. And there's markets that can be created out of the fear of oncoming markets. Community banks, branch banks are afraid of fintechs. They're afraid of them because they can show up anywhere, anytime and grab their customers, and there's nothing they can do about it. And so I built a tool to help branch banks actually fight back against fintechs, AI-enabled competitors, and large banks, although large branch banks can use the tool too. But I've given them a tool that actually is counter to one of the momentum. It's a tool that helps them protect themselves from something that is coming. And that's a way of leaning into emerging markets as well. And if you're an entrepreneur thinking about a good business idea, it may not always be going with the wave. There's always those who stand to lose from something that's occurring. And you can build products for them too to help protect them from this momentum. And that's just an idea to stick in your back pocket as an entrepreneur, thinking about a way to engage with a product set. And that's what Oinkching is. Oinkching is a fintech killer. It's a fintech killer for branch banks. So oink like a pig, ching like money going to the piggy bank, Oinkching, and that's my time.
I love hearing it. This is wonderful. We have 1 minute left, Drew. I will stay on for a few minutes if people have chats, questions in the chat, because I want to make sure we keep time. But for all of those other, so feel free, put some things in the question. Put some questions in the chat for Drew, and we'll stay here. But for the sake of time, Drew, thank you so much for coming. We will stay here for a bit. We don't have time for needs and leads, but I will quickly say we do have another event coming up. It is healthcare focused. So stay tuned for, we have the CEO of Dr. Knows Best, Christy Brown. And then of course, if you want to keep up to date with events happening or the 5 and Thrive podcast, we're talking weekly about what's happening, who's out there, the latest tech in the South, startup news. So feel free to subscribe there. I will stop here. Thank you again, Martha, Andrew, Drew. You guys are fabulous. I loved hearing this. If you guys want to rewatch, because there was a lot of info here, feel free to check out our socials tomorrow for anyone that wants to share this. And I will cut it there, but I'll stay here for a few other people if they want to chat. So thank you and have a great day.